Okay, so I just opened this plug and check this out. And that's only about a quarter of what already came out. So we definitely have a bad brick. We actually have a 6.2 that we were holding on to that we were possibly thinking that we were going to put in the Caprice. That would have been an LTX powered engine, and we might actually have our hand forced in that we might do something with this in case there's anything that we find wrong. Getting forced a little sooner possibly than we wanted to be, but that might be what we have to do. So this is not good. We're going to check out what we got going on here.
Oh my god! I did not expect it to come through. Oh, Laz, you did not warn me. You said it would be more entertaining, not like that.
That's a lot.
That was.
There's a lot coming out.
Got it. That should be good.
Oil or anything?
I am really glad that we pulled all the spark plugs, did turn it over. I think that we got some digging to do and find out why. So. All right, guys, Laz has got this thing almost single-handedly, totally pulled. Somewhat the unorthodox way, I guess, but
Trying something different.
yeah, this is definitely, it's a little tight. It's definitely a little tight. We're very close to the cowl right there, and let's check the other side. We got our brackets here. You got okay room in the back, not too much. I have to have a little. All right, hold on a second. We got a. Gonna need to go forward a little bit. Oof, man, you don't have much room. You're on the. Yeah.
Which side?
Let's see if we can tilt like sideways like this. Oh, look at the air gap on that supercharger. It's freaking sweet. Fantastic. Gentlemen, you're being extremely rude.
Heads up!
Can't work under these conditions here. You try and be professional here, you know? This is ridiculous.
See, those ports are actually sweet looking.
It's pretty monster.
Wow. Whoa.
This is really conjugal.
You want me to cut this?
Yeah, just sever it. Yeah, please.
All right, cool.
That is probably the highest I've seen an engine on the engine stand here.
I'm working on it. Oh boy.
Oh man. I was holding that for a while.
I told Laz put some weight over here.
Dude, that thing is really big. We have a hunch that we have lost some compression in cylinder 1. We're gonna check this out. When we had the water inside there, we bled some of the oil out of the pan, and this is what we had in there. So we see oil on the top, and you've got water on the bottom. So yeah, you can see that. Definitely something a little bit funny there. What it appears like is we have a lot of water that went through a ring and around a ring and somehow got in the bottom end. We will find out as we kind of tear this down. When we had this apart, you can still see we have water that came out the front there with our busted intercooler or something like that. It's pretty impressive though, honestly. It all together, it looks pretty big, I will definitely say that. From oil pan to the top of the blower, I mean, that thing looks like a diesel monster. So we're trying to get all our problems resolved, get this thing back up in the road and running with our forge motor, and hopefully we'll be able to make a little bit more power, hit the track back up, and try and run our low 11, if not a high 10-second pass. That is the goal with this thing. All right, guys, so our hunch, Laz, what was our hunch that we had? The intercooler brick. That was the first thing that I said, and it could be something else. So we're going to find out what is going on here. I'm really curious as to what caused this. If it is, in fact, an intercooler brick, this is the first one we have seen on an LT4 platform. So you have some sort of news, or?
No, I got some stuff off loose. If you want to pull the brick out and check it yourself, slide the brick around. Just look along the side here.
Oh,
See a little bit different in shifting.
yeah, that looks. It's kind of bulbous. And... All right, so you pulled the other one out, or?
No.
What's all this crap? It's like definitely some nasty down there. Okay, so that's the only thing that you think, though? Just that's slow. We got some other drips there. Yeah, that's definitely curious. Oh, Laz, are you thinking that that was because of being water only?
Yes.
Same thing? Yeah.
Probably
Would have been faster if you get to the water.
It's empty. Okay, here goes nothing.
Oh my gosh! Why? Why always me?
Well, daggum. So, this whole situation might have been prevented had we actually put coolant in the intercooler system, which oftentimes I frown upon. But I think that I thought that we had some in there and didn't. Possibly one of those situations that could have totally been crisis averted. Stuff happened. Hopefully we haven't heard anything. I mean, it is possible to have a bent rod even though we didn't technically hydrolock it. That could happen. There are other things that can happen. So we're going to tear this down a little bit farther and see what we have. But so far, that is what we have found. So this right here seems to have expanded. This is a little bit bulbous right here. Again, this is the first time we've ever had a problem with an LT4 brick. It was self-inflicted. No question, this could have been prevented had we had a little bit more coolant in there. We're going to tear this down and check out what is going on with cylinder 1, which we have a suspect issue there. So we're going to see what is up with that. We also kind of just want to see the health of this overall engine as we tear it down. Yeah, guys, it's a blue moon. I'm working on something. So, noticed in the comments that a lot of people are like, oh, Jeremy doesn't work on a car and whatever. So, guys, it's a lot more profitable for me to be doing tuning. Promise. Not that I don't work on the cars, it's just we try not to because these guys are good at it, they're faster, and, well... Whoa! Hey, see, that's why. Dang, someone ported them heads, like, really, really good, okay? Thought it was slippery before. The moment of truth that we've all been waiting for. Alright, let's see what we got here. Well, that held water. How much? Man, you can really see how much was, we thought we puked out all the water, too. Now, is cylinder 1 the one with a ring landing issue? Okay, so oil consumption on this cylinder was the highest. Okay, so all right, so we had a problem with cylinder 1 spark plug for a little while here. It was kind of fouling out, and we had some sort of oil consumption issue. We had a while ago checked and made sure that the thing had compression. It passed the compression test. Didn't really know what to do from there. I think we even changed the valve guide, right? Or not the guide. I'm sorry, the valve seals, thinking that we had some sort of problem. But indisputably, we have a significant amount of oil more on this cylinder than any other cylinder. Let me get that. So look at the amount of oil on that. Like you can see it's all crusty. It kind of looks, you know, whereas the other ones are nice and clean. But we have definitely a major issue, though, with cylinder 1. And when you look at the piston, though, they all look fairly uniform there. So that still begs the question.
Yeah, I got it, Les. I got it.
I mean, if we keep that same head on, we have a problem with the head. So, I mean, we don't have what appears to be a head gasket issue.
Nice solid red ring all the way around.
Yeah. We don't see any exhaust or anything like that around it whatsoever. So we're going to look at our clues here. Yeah, nothing looks really weird there. All right, that does.
It's going to have some, though.
Yeah. I want to check it versus another, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a decent cross-hatching right there. We have a little bit of scoring right there. This one, go back down a little bit. I don't know. That's a little bit, no, that just looks like some rust or something like that. Like, okay, right here, it's discolored, but again, that could have been from our water sitting, you know. That has a lot more, a lot more rust. Right there. But our problem is cylinder 1. So
That'd be
what?
interesting to go ahead and pop that rod out. and look at the rings.
Yeah.
Do you remember on the LSAs when they get some flaking on the edge of the rings? Like, yeah, that,
I think
that
we
coating
had.
would come off.
Well, the teardown continues here. Got the oil pan off, checking everything out with it. We are going to send it off to the machine shop, try and find out what's going on. All right, so cylinder number 1, removing the rod end. Once we pull this piston out, we're going to look at the rings, see what we see.
One cracked main cap.
Yeah, so as we can see, we have our water getting mixed with the oil.
Broken ring lines.
Yeah, man.
Broken ring lamp?
There we go. Definitely. Well, all right then. That's something worth mentioning.
I'm thinking you didn't take Selene very seriously because it probably wasn't running so good.
So, that we don't have to send a machine shop to understand what the heck that was. Definitely, as soon as we pop out the piston, we can see it. So that is very, very odd there. Yeah, there it is.
What in the world?
Just peel it right out. Look at that.
Oh, is that a broken piston?
Indeed. Indeed.
What broke the piston? I think maybe it's trying to hydro lock.
No, I don't know. I mean, so here's the thing. Like, I mean,
It broke all the ring rings out.
so we had, you know, it could have been one of those things where we're kind of like, if I had run it and I didn't realize that there was coolant, it's kind of the chicken or the egg thing. We're just peeling that whole ring land off right now.
Yeah.
So realistically, the yeah, definitely broken in a a third of the piston, maybe almost half.
Is that intake or exhaust side?
We'll flip her over and figure it out.
Yeah.
Because that should be the top right there, and then when you're looking at it, as far as like, well, the porcopotamus had a broken ring land, so that is at least some sort of very good resolution, of which I'm happy to find, so that we're not chasing our tail. Dang, get big old James' head up in the way there, can't see nothing, man.
Oh, right here, there's like
Yeah,
one
if there's
scratch.
there's one that's broke like that, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't another.
Oh, look, you got your little oil squirter right there. It's so cute.
So again, I'm going to reiterate, we did not know what exactly caused what. So if, in fact, we ran this car very hard and did not have coolant in the system, which at one point that had happened, did that cause this situation? And that is very, very likely. I've had a number of other customers go to the track with their CTSVs or whatever vehicle, and they kind of puke out the fluid, and they get distracted, or something else may happen. They go and they make a pass and they melt a whole bunch of pistons. That type of thing can happen because your intake air temperatures are through the roof and the car spark knocks and it just goes too lean, too much heat. So that could have very well happened on this particular setup, but right now this is the only indicator that we had. This is the only cylinder that was consuming a lot of oil, and it's been doing this for a few months. We're kind of chasing the problem for a little bit and hopefully got everything resolved. In fact, actually, we might have done this while we were up in Pennsylvania, I guess. I don't know. Oh yeah, the red Loctite rears its ugly head. And when you see big old boy Laz quivering like that,
No, you
not
don't
breaking
want
it
to
loose,
strip it because I don't feel like throwing it out.
he's shaking.
It's support in the back of it. Come on now.
Are you scared of it, or is it?
Oh, I'm scared.
I'd be scared you're gonna. Oh man, you got it. Okay. Whew.
Steady pressure, pal. Steady pressure.
That's what I was doing.
You did great.
But when it wants to do that,
Don't listen to Jeremy.
Hey, just get back to your munchies, all right?
I think this one's already done.
All right, aim higher so this time I can catch it in my face.
He likes to catch it.
All right. I don't know. Oh
Wow.
Whoa!
That was impressive.
Yeah, dude, that was it. No, that was in the throw. That was all you, buddy. Yesterday, okay, so yesterday, it was a bay and a half. I threw a peanut and he caught it.
Over the dyno.
Over the dyno. That's right. Yeah, it was good. That was all in the throw. That was you.
You guys make a darn good team.
Should just play beer pong.
It's gonna happen at that wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Cam bolt problems whenever you go red Loctite. Now it's good the fact that they never came out, but if they ever have to come out again, it is a pain in the butt. What you got there, Laz?
Putting this porcopotamus 6.2 back together.
I must say, woo-wee, that is a good looking freaking motor right there. That looks pretty good. Looks
Since
pretty
we're reusing the lifters and cam, they're all going back in the same spots they came out of.
well, that's pretty savvy.
Well, they're not soaked.
We are very close in compression ratio as to what we were. So this is a Wiseco piston with a Cali's rod, and she is going to be pretty darn strong. That's the that is the objective right there, is to not be able to hurt it, make big power. This is pretty high compression. This is actually going to be about 11.7 to 1 compression ratio with, I think we're running about 9 pounds of boost or so. That's pretty rowdy. Got to do our cam timing. Laz going to be putting the timing chain on coming up very, very shortly here. So guys, you can get all of this stuff from Brian Tooley Racing. We actually got these Cali's Compstar rods at a very decent price, along with these Wiseco pistons, and man, I gotta say they look really, really good in there. I know that Cali's uses the ARP rod bolts there. I am a big fan. I wanted to mention about the oil squirters. So all the LT-based engines have oil squirters in the bottom of them, and I am a firm believer that that does preserve that piston. When that oil squirts on the bottom of that piston, it also does help dissipate some of the heat there. So we are running this with a stock crank, and that is going to be plenty for this Porcopotamus to make some big power. Porcopotamus is going to be rocking here very shortly.
Well, I'm actually wiggling on George's unit right now.
Don't stop wiggling it. Keep going. Almost. All right, it's in.
All right, guys, get the motor back in the Porcopotamus. Just doing some final stuff, getting ready to put the tranny in. Laz and George have been tag teaming it. Got the harness in, got the engine. Pretty darn close to getting back together. Put everything all together in and then dropped it all in same way it came out. So when it's not eventful, that's a good thing. Well, tranny's up in there. The guys got the rest of the stuff all hooked up. Well, hopefully in a couple hours we'll have this girl up and running. This big girl with her new, fresh 0-mile motor. Gonna make some big power. Everything looks good, man. Got a few more things we just gotta tidy up, but it is coming along very, very nice. So we'd had somewhat of an intermittent connection on our cutouts, and that was really, really annoying. So hopefully now Laz and George are messing around with it, and hopefully we won't have that problem anymore. But that's something that's really fun to have. Really sucks when it stays open or when it's leaking. So we're gonna try and get that resolved. So guys, as we had mentioned before, the last time we had this thing on the dyno, we made 675 before we had our cutout, which is not here right now. When we dyno this thing again, we're going to dyno it through the factory exhaust and then back through the cutout. Now, when we were running the factory exhaust, we generated a lot of heat. So much so that we melted the bumper pretty significantly. Everything got pretty hot, and this thing kind of came apart. So I was doing some spirited driving with a fellow, and I ran a couple of times back to back to back. This got really hot and literally melted off, and yeah, we've got a pretty distorted bumper there. Once we get all the motor back all together, and then once we get that cutout open, I'd love to see the difference in this big suitcase of a muffler here, see how restrictive this thing is. We just did some testing on a Denali that was a twin turbo, and it made an enormous difference in power when we went from cutouts closed to cutouts open. Now, the fact of that matter was the fact that it made a little bit more boost with the cutouts open, and of course that changes things, but this is going to make less boost because it's a totally different driven vehicle. Now, that being said, we should be able to see a substantial gain in power. All right, let's try and get this thing circulating the coolant and fire it up. That sounds much better. Looks rich right now. Well, heck, man, I'll take that. It is 2:19 in the morning. I really want to go home and get some sleep. Wife needs a car to drive. Got to get it back home to her. Well, she's up and running. Blower's making a little rattle, but I'm so glad to hear her running. Valve train quieted up. That's quite nice. Yeah, the blower's like the only thing you really hear. It's got a little growl.
Got it done at 2:47.
Yeah, all right. Just in the nick of time.
You said 3 o'clock.
Should be done by 3. No problem. Well, guys, it's been a couple days. I was so exhausted when we were finishing up the car. I was so tired. It was just not a good time. So we got this thing up and running. I'm excited. We've got some miles on it. We got a half a tank of E85 on it. She's been running great, working out the problems. It's so nice to be back. So happy. My wife was definitely missing her car, and she kind of been babying it a lot because of the spark knock issue, mainly because the oil consumption on the cylinder 1. So now that it's been up and running, we've been able to take it out and beat the crap out of it a little bit. No more coolant leaks. She's flowing good. Before we go into freezing climates again, we are going to run a higher concentration of our coolant in there, so don't you fret. Everything looks good, it sounds good. We're gonna do something about this leaky cutout over here. This thing is so much fun to drive on the street. We've been able to mess around, toy around with some other cars that have a lot more power and really give them a hard time. But I'm so excited to get this thing. We're gonna try and dyno this and find out what kind of power it's making. We are in a higher compression ratio, so things will be a little bit differently. Plus, we never got to test the cutout. I'm really looking forward to doing that. So guys, stick around. Thanks so much for watching. This has been a long, tough, expensive build, so I'm just so happy that my wife's daily driver's up and running again, and we're gonna go do something real with it. So we'll see you guys soon. God bless you guys. Thanks for watching. All right, come on. Norrie, come on.